can hear you.
I can hear you. All right. Take it away.
Okay. All righty. So now it's my pleasure to introduce, I'm Michelle Rayford, and I am the author of Moment of Truth and Not That Nice. And it is my pleasure to bring on ReShonda Tate Billingsley, who is a national best-selling author of more than 40 books. She writes both adult and teen fiction, as well as nonfiction. Several of her books have been optioned for movies, and she is the co-founder of Brown Girl Books. Her latest book, A Little Bit of Karma, which you see on the screen now, is out now. So welcome, ReShonda.
Hello, hello, and thank you so much for having me.
So I want to chat with you today. So would you just start by telling us a little bit about A Little Bit of Karma?
So it is basically a book about a couple that is they're radio hosts, and everyone thinks they have this wonderful marriage because they're relationship hosts. They talk about how to build better relationships and teach people all of that. The only problem is their own relationship is falling apart. They are on the verge of divorce, and they don't want anyone to know because they have to host a relationship retreat. So they head to that retreat, and his mistress follows her there, and she ends up dead. So there's a lot of suspense as to who did it, and it's a different type of book for me, but I had a lot of fun writing it.
Oh, nice. I just started reading it, so I didn't know she ends up dead. Okay, so.
Oh.
Well, that's a minute. How you gonna come on and not have the book read?
I just started. I read the Stolen Daughter. I finished that one, and then A Little Bit of Karma came out, and I'm like, oh no, it's another one.
I know. I'm trying to catch up with Brenda.
Oh.
I gotta double what I'm doing.
Wow. But you have an extensive library too, ReShonda, so we can't shake a stick at that now.
Yes, this is my 52nd book. So
Whoa.
Very excited about that. I've been writing 20 years. And A Little Bit of Karma is with Simon & Schuster's Gallery Books, and then The Stolen Daughter was with Kensington, which is why they came out so close together.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. So I know you've been with Simon & Schuster since Hector was a pup.
Yes,
so now with Kensington?
I am now with Kensington. That was my last book with Simon & Schuster. I'm now with Kensington. And so, I talk about it because it's kind of my testimony. I actually lost my book deal with Simon & Schuster after 20 years. And I'm not ashamed. Some authors are ashamed to say that once they do, because it's a testimony for me, because I was in a bad place in my life, and everybody was marveling about how great my life was. And they didn't realize after 20 years, I had lost my book deal. My marriage had fallen apart. My life was falling apart. And so, I still had to figure out how to keep going. But I don't believe that, I believe that God doesn't make mistakes. And so he moved me from Simon & Schuster because I had been comfortable there for 20 years. And it wasn't their fault they dropped me. When my life fell apart, I fell on the sofa. And I didn't do what I was supposed to do as an author. And so I love that God said, okay, I'm going to take this moment. You thinking you're in the valley, but I'm going to show you that this is just, I'm redirecting your path.
That is amazing. That is amazing. You had a lot of changes in your life at that time, because you first had moved from Texas, and then you moved to someplace else in the South.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. And then the next time I saw you, you was like, no, I'm back in Texas. I'm like, okay. So now we kind of understand what was going on. But, that was a major shakeup. Your literary life and your personal life being shaken up at the same time is like.
At the same time. And 22 years marriage, 20 years a book, and 3 children. So it was, and then every day people are like, I want to be you. And I'm like, really, you don't. I promise you don't.
I understand. And we've got Terri online as well. Let me ask to unmute her. She's also one of your authors. And so she wanted to be here on the same time. So she may have a couple of questions for you as well. But
hey, boss lady.
Yeah, they were fighting over who was going to do what.
I love it. Both of them are awesome. Awesome. So I take questions from anyone. I'm one, I just like to chat and answer readers' questions.
Okay. So Terri, you have a question you want to throw at her?
Okay, yes, absolutely. What inspires your writing?
You know, that is a great question. I would love to say that I sit in a mountain in Maine and sip on my latte as I come up with all these fabulous ideas, but I just am nosy. So I sit around in Starbucks, and as you come in for your morning latte, you look stressed out. I've created this whole backstory. You just, you have no idea that you've inspired a serial killer when all you wanted to do was come in and get a tall white mocha. And so I get inspired by everything around me. There's a joke in my family: don't say anything around ReShonda unless you want it in the book, because I'm at the family reunion, laptop open, I'm taking notes. And then what happens is then I just let my imagination take over from there. But everything is rooted just from things that happen in real life.
Okay. Awesome. Any other tribe members I'm going to unmute all the tribe members, and we're going to be looking in the chat right now for any pictures that
I think Michelle has some questions.
Michelle said thank you for Michelle Weaver said thank you for your transparency. You're right. A lot of authors don't like to tell, they like to tell everybody else's business in the books, right? But they don't like to tell their own personal trials all the time. I put all my stuff on Facebook so nobody can blackmail me or anything. I always said that because Janet Jackson, to me, when that guy tried to stiff her for some more money, I said he knows something she don't want out there. I would have put it out there just to take the power away from him. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, you reclaim your power, but more than anything, it serves as an inspiration for others, because a lot of people think, okay, oh my God, I've lost my deal, my publisher dropped me, or they don't want to give me a new contract, and then they internalize that. And it could be as simple as you got a new editor, and they have to make budget cuts, or it could be any number of reasons. And so I always try to be transparent so that people can see they're not walking a particular journey alone.
That is so awesome. Thank you. I
have a question. What is your writing process?
My writing process. I would again love to say that I get up every morning and I work out for 45 minutes, and then I meditate and no, I crawl out the bed. I check Twitter to see if Donald Trump's still living, and then I'm sorry, NSA may be monitoring this. I check Twitter, check my Facebook page, and then I roll into the office. I have several jobs, so I do many of my day jobs during the day, and I just write whenever I can. I just make it a point to write. So I do a lot of dictating, and I will dictate whenever I have a long drive. I dictate chapters. Like I'm out of town right now, and on my drive here, I dictated 7 chapters of my next book. And then I'll have them transcribed, and that's how I get it done. I believe good books aren't written, they're rewritten. And so I will get my first draft down, and then I print it out, and I just rewrite it from there.
Hi, Ms. Billingsley, my name is Florenza Lee, and I have a question for you. With the transparency that you shared in your life, and thank you for that, how are you able to continue to write not from a place of pain or bitterness, but to still allow these stories to flow through you organically as they would have?
Because what I had to do, so I am myself and Victoria Christopher Murray is not only a business partner, but she's a dear friend of mine. And I had a pity party, and I invited her along with my girlfriends, my longtime girlfriends. I invited them on the regular basis. And they came to my pity party for about a week. And then they were like, deuces. Every time I would be sad, they like, okay, look, we're going to let you cry, but we got business to take care of. So I had a strong support system, number one. Number two, I would look around, and I have 2 daughters. And I would say to myself, my daughters are looking at me. They're just trying to see how I handle adversity. And so I had no choice but to get up off the sofa. And I had to power through. As hard as it was, I would power through. Even if I, would have to put some of it down in writing and then go back and delete it, I just powered through, both in words and in my actions.
Mm-hmm. Has this empowered your stories differently than before?
It has. I am for a long time, and my ex and I are now in a good place with co-parenting. But for a long time, I was a bitter Black woman, and I didn't understand why I was a bitter Black woman, and because it was I was living in an unhappy place. People would always ask me, "Are you happy?" And I would say, "I'm not unhappy." And my girlfriend would always say, that's not a good answer. And for years, I never thought about that, but I felt like I can live comfortably as long as I'm not unhappy. And I just had to realize, no, God put us here to live in happiness and joy and to find what it is that brings us joy. And so that's where I am now. I do the things that bring me joy, and it has uplifted my writing. It makes me not only a better writer, but it makes me look at things through a different lens. I'm not a bitter Black woman.
Here's the thing, Tony Bonita says, because she bleeds pink and green, and we are stronger than people know. And Jennifer Mosley says, ReShonda, that lesson goes beyond writing. It is a lesson about life. Thank you. Okay, Michelle, you have some more questions for her?
Yes, I have another question. Who are your favorite authors? Who do you like to read?
So I am an avid reader, and by reader, I say audiobooks as well, because I don't have a whole lot of time to sit down. So when I listen to an audiobook, I consider that reading. But I love established authors. I'm a big fan. I read Victoria's books. I read Kimberly Lawson Roby's books. I love Everyone That Needs a Wife was my favorite book of all time. Maybe because I was a bitter Black woman back then. But I also love John. I'm listening to The Summons right now by John Grisham. And so I have a wide variety of books that I like and listen to. And I listen to a lot of political books as well.
Okay, it's a question in the chat. Someone wants to know, will there be a sequel to What's Done in the Dark?
You know, I write my stories and I never write with the intention that I'm going to write a sequel. What happens is my characters come and tap me on the shoulder and say, okay, it's time for me to tell you what's going on with me. And so right now, I don't have any intentions. But even with What's Done in the Dark, that's about a woman that slept with her best friend's husband and he ends up dead. Wow, I sure was killing mistresses and exes. I wasn't even thinking about that. Okay, I digress. And so she, at the end of the book, it had one ending. And then she came and tapped me on the shoulder one day and said, I want a different ending. This is what's going on now. And so I had to go back. Luckily, it was before the book was published and we changed the ending. So I don't have plans for sequels just yet. It's when they come and tap me on the shoulder and say, I'm ready for my story to be told.
Okay, I'm going to ask this question, and I know it's going to be mega unfair. What is the favorite of yours, of your book that you've written? What is the one that you absolutely, if you hadn't written anything else, this is the book?
That is a very hard question, but I would say it's The Secret She Kept. And the reason is because it deals with mental illness. And that book is the one that I've gotten the most emails, the most feedback from people, in that it has changed their lives. When the movie aired, I actually got an email from someone that was going to commit suicide the day before the movie aired. And she said she saw a advertisement for the movie and she decided to watch it. And then after, she was so moved, she downloaded the book and read it in one setting. And she said it saved her life. And she sent that to TV One and they forwarded it to me. And I got that kind of email all the time. And you think I'm just sitting here making up stories, but without realizing how it's resonating with people. So I have that. There was I had a book signing and a woman drove her daughter 4 hours to come to the book signing. The girl was 14 years old. And when she arrived, she had on a t-shirt that said, today is my 14th birthday. And I'm getting my wish to meet my all-time favorite author, ReShonda Tate Billingsley. She had made a little homemade t-shirt. And I was so moved and immediately thought it was because of my teen books, but it was because of The Secret She Kept. And she said that is her. She was bipolar, but she didn't know how to explain it to her family. And her mother said that is the book that got through to her. And she was able to give it to her family so that they could understand what she was going through. So I get that kind of email all the time. And that's why that book really resonates with me.
That's definitely an amazing story. And what Michelle did not say, I think she's so used to saying that she is She's got the 2 books, but she's also in an anthology that you guys just did. Michelle and Terri Terri, you're in that anthology as well?
I'm in the Christmas anthology.
Okay.
Michelle is in the latest one.
In the latest one, the Confessions or something like that?
Yes.
Confessions.
Yes, we we're really excited with what we're doing with Brown Girls Books. As you know, it is a lot of work, a whole lot of work. But we are so excited to be able to give authors the opportunity to have their voices be heard. It is something that Victoria and I founded several years ago, and we are happy that it's still going strong. We're excited that a couple of our books are being made into movies. Terry's is one of them. Very, very excited about that because we're actually moving forward with it. You know, I know all too well how you can sell your book to be made into a movie, and then it's 10 years later and you're still waiting. So we are moving forward. So we're really excited about that.
And I have a little bit of a confession to make. We're talking about transparency here. I actually was first, I was published by Simon & Schuster. And then I sent my book, Open Door Marriage, to Victoria to edit because I kind of wanted to, I've been through editors and I thought, you know, she was one of the holy, you and her were one of the holy grail of editors, that I would learn some secret from all of your wisdom of being with a major house all those years that would help enhance my book. And she took like, I was like, a little long time to get an answer back on this editing job. And then she emailed me, called me and said, I have a proposal for you. And I'm like, I'd like to make you a proposal. I'm like, I didn't know we was on that level, but what you got in mind? But that's when you all were coming up with the idea for Brown Girls Publishing. And I was one of the first books out of the gate for Brown Girl. It was Trial and Terror because it's different being on the end where you being published by a major house and there's a machine in place where everything is in, you know, been done a certain way for so many years, and branching out to do your own thing and then bringing other people under your wing to publish them, and all of these different egos, all of these different attitudes, all of these different demands. And I was very grateful to be published because it put me back on the map with that book, which was a controversial book, just like Every Woman Needs a Wife. What would you have done differently? Now that you have been through this for 5-6 years, what would you have done differently then if you had started it and you knew now? What would you have done differently?
Real talk?
Real talk.
I wouldn't have done it. Wouldn't have done it. The only saving grace and the thing that keeps us going is giving the other authors the opportunity that they may not otherwise have. If it were not for that, I don't know that we would continue doing it because it is so much work. We have 40 plus authors. It is a lot of work and you deal with a lot of egos, and it is just Victoria and I. And a lot of people think that they have the best book in the country. And so you get it and you deal with egos, and then we still have our own careers. So it's challenging. It is to this day, it is challenging. We've learned to kind of fine tune the machine, but we say all the time, that's why God doesn't give you foresight into the future, because we might not have started it if we had been able to see.
And I'm glad you did, because it helped to put me back in the literary eye, because I had, you know, Every Woman Needs a Wife. I had worked that to death, and I was still self-publishing. But when Publishers Weekly put an eye on you guys, and they put that, put your picture in there and Victoria's picture in there, I thought that was an amazing time. Michelle, you're kind of new to the industry, the literary. What did you learn the most from being with Brown Girls Books?
It's just the whole process, submitting the story, getting it edited, and then finally seeing it published. And it was just, it was a learning process, but it was a good one. Yeah, I don't have any complaints.
I wouldn't expect you to complain, but the thing about it is, as far as a new author coming in, what is your takeaway from being published and being edited by Victoria and ReShonda that you would apply Terri just
well, I've taken
Terri just fell out of the screen.
It was like nobody was gonna notice where all of that See, Terri, you were smooth with it. I feel you. Elena just gonna call you out.
Yeah, because I missed it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. I've taken some of Victoria's editing classes, so I kind of knew what to expect going in being edited by them. So I know you just no explanation points, and you need to make sure you cut down on your that's and just and those kind of things. And I also learned that I have a problem sometimes with descriptions. So just going back and making sure that you're really painting the picture so that you put the reader in the story.
So that is one thing that we are serious about the craft of writing, which is why we don't publish as many books as we would like to. When we started the company, we were ambitious. We actually thought we were going to do 4 books a month. And we had our agent, she laughed at us really, because we were initially going to partner with her because she publishes, she's an amazing white agent. But she said that you just can't do it. And once you get in this, you'll see what we're talking about. And so our original intention had been everybody that sends a manuscript to us, we're going to edit and give you feedback. That was our goal. We really thought we were going to be able to do that. That lasted about 2 manuscripts because we were on the Tom Joyner morning show, and that week we got 400 manuscripts, 400. And it's just Victoria and I. Who have our separate careers. So we weren't able to do the things that we want, but the manuscripts we do edit, Victoria is brutal with it. I do some of the editing as well. And we make sure that the craft is, if a reader is going to invest in one of our books, we want them to be satisfied that they got a well-written book.
Yes, and you guys were doing so much at that time, because I remember the first edition of Open Door Marriage. It was you guys went through mine several times, and it was like being bounced like tennis. Victoria, ReShonda, Victoria, ReShonda. And then unfortunately what went to press for that first edition, it was the last draft. It was the next to the last draft and not the final, because ReShonda was doing so much. She put that one up to be laid out, and it was a reader that brought it to our attention that was the wrong version. I was like, but it was so much going on at that time, and everybody was working so hard to get everything perfect, and the best laid plans. But it was readers that were they told us, we put the new version up, and it was awesome. So, and my son, J.L. Woodson, who does our covers, he did that cover, and he also did you all's first website.
Yes, he did several covers. He's was and still is amazing.
Thank you. I mean, I had everything to do. Just say it. So Terri, you are also a Brown Girls books author. What was that experience like for you for Faith Alone? And I love those covers, Faith Alone and Switched.
Yes.
I see it back there.
Like Michelle said and ReShonda said, it's the process. The editing process is a teaching process, so that as you complete one novel, your next novel, you can take those lessons, learn from the first one, and apply them, to your next novel. So I think for me, that's the biggest takeaway, is the teaching, that goes on during the editing process. Yes, I think that's the biggest takeaway.
And also, as the host, I'm supposed to actually share what our host for today, that's Michelle. This is one of her books. It's not a Brown Girls book, at least not yet. Moment of Truth. But this is Michelle D. Rayford. I love this picture of her. I love this picture. This is a Woodson Creative Studio cover. And the covers for Faith Alone and Switched were also done by J.L. Woodson, who is number one son. So I just want to make sure we display this, because the host was, this kind of chat just was really, because you guys are family, literary family, I thought it was better, instead of just cutting ReShonda off at the 15-minute mark to incorporate the things that she's done for you guys as authors. So is there any other questions that you want to throw? Is there a question, ReShonda, you want to throw at Michelle?
No, I love to see people just continue doing their writing and living in their truth. One of the things I haven't read it, I would love audio, which is why we fought so hard to get our Brown Girls books on audio, because Terri's book, Faith Alone, is on audio. And we're really excited that a lot of our titles are on audio, because unfortunately I don't have time to read, because I have a pile of manuscripts that if I sit down to read, that's what I have to read.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, any more questions for Michelle or for ReShonda? Let's look in the chat room. Do you see any questions, any of the tribe? You have any questions? Because I can question her all day long. You know, me and ReShonda been hanging for years. I remember, your first cavalcade experience. Yes. I will always remember when we pulled the bus up to Oak Street, and that is for the real estate, that is the richest block in Chicago. And everybody knows that ReShonda loves shoes, that she loves shoes. Honey, the bus didn't even stop all the way. She was already at the door, and she took off running because Jimmy Choo's was on that block, and she tore off, and the readers were like right behind her. They were trying to keep up. It was hilarious. She forgot all about books. She forgot about being an author. She was a woman in love with shoes. It was hilarious.
Yes, that is definitely one of my, I'm not going to call it a shortcoming, because everybody had their vices. That's one of my vices. I'll say that.
Yeah. Lisa, you had a question in the chat about Jeremy and his covers.
Does J.L. Woodson do covers besides romance? Yeah, he does them all. Science fiction, everything. I'll drop his information in the chat so you can so you can connect with him. He's done for Brown Girls, some for other publishing houses, but definitely for all of the tribe. So I'll drop that information in. Thank you so much. We've got 2 minutes. Go ahead, Anita.
There's a question for ReShonda from Cynthia Mack. Will you write your own story?
I don't think that I'm interesting enough to do my entire autobiography. So I don't see that happening. Plus, my children would die of embarrassment. So you'll probably just have to stick and get a note from the author to get. That's the most of my story you'll get, or else it'll be fictionalized a little bit.
Oh, on that note, I got to mention, speaking of dying of embarrassment, that whole thing with your daughter acted a plumb fool, and you decided you needed to give her some act right. And it was something that you did. I think you had her hold up a sign and say, I am off Instagram or Facebook because I did XYZ. And honey, the media stormed from that. What was that quote that you said about the fact that people were saying, well, she shouldn't have done that. She'll be embarrassed for life, this, that, and the other. What was the quote that you said?
Yeah, I was definitely crucified with them saying things like my daughter would die of embarrassment. And I said, I've never seen a tombstone that says, here lies Susie. She died from embarrassment. So my child clowned on social media. So she showed out on social media. So that's where she had to get shown out. That was back before they did what they call now the social media shaming. I just wanted to go where she decided to act up.
Right. Tell us where. There's somebody saying, how do we submit a manuscript for publishing by ReShonda? As if y'all don't already have enough manuscripts. But you guys are more also focused on the book side as far as getting books out than taking them in. But if they wanted to do that, what website can they go to find out more information about Brown Girls Books?
So our website is browngirlsbooks.com, and we have all of the information. All of our titles can be found there. The audio books, please sign up for our mailing list there, because it has information on when you can, when our movies will come out. We'll keep you updated on that. And we're steady trying to work to bring titles to audio, so you can find out all that information there. We also, if you're an aspiring writer, check out writersproworkshops.com. Victoria and I do digital, watch at your own pace writing workshops, videos.
Yeah. Does Brown Girls have can they order books from the website?
They can. The links to to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo are on the website as well.
Okay, Michelle, how can people catch up with you?
Okay, I have a website, michelledrayford.com, and it has all my information there. I'm on Facebook at Michelle D. Rayford, Twitter, M. Rayford, and Instagram, MD Rayford.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you, ReShonda. You can hang out. Your girl, Victoria, just walked in the house. She looks, that look is very, I was like, okay, this is very politician looking. Like she's ready for her own debate. She's ready for her own debate.
Well, you know, I just came from my chapter meeting, my sorority chapter meeting. So
right, you are Delta and ReShonda is pink and green, so she's AKA. And which one is Kamala Harris?
She's
Alpha,
AKA.
Kappa, Alpha.
She's right.
Yeah, she made a mistake, but that's okay.
She's an AKA, but you know what? She's loved by the Divine Nine, so
yes,
we're behind her 120%.
Indeed, indeed. I was ever so proud of her. I was so proud of her on that. She was poised because people were looking for the angry Black woman. She knew how to deflect the questions. She knew how to answer the questions, but I will say time and time again, I don't know about her ethnicity, her background, but she was straight up sister when she says, I'm speaking now. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She's a Black woman. I don't know why people question her. She's a Black woman. If she gets followed by a policeman in a car, he sees a Black woman. She's a Black woman. And especially when she said, if you have pre-existing conditions, they coming for you. That was her. That was, she was like, if you 26 on, they coming for you.
Before you go, don't ask her about politics. She's not gonna.
No, we gonna stick on books. We gonna do a little bit of it. But the thing I'm just
warning you.
I know, right? But the thing about it is, this is very timely with everything that's going on. Everybody, please go out and vote. We will say that. But we are gonna talk books. We may slide in a little bit of politics, but I know how to reel her in. But I'm gonna turn this over.
Me in. You gotta reel me in.
I know.
Forget.
Okay, ReShonda, you gonna stick around, or you want to be in the audience for a little bit?
I'll go to the audience. Thank you all so much.
No problem. No problem. Thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna change your role to attendee. Whoop, there she goes. All right, Terri, take it away.
Hello, this is a natural organic flow. I'm here to introduce Victoria Christopher Murray, ReShonda Tate Billingsley's partner in crime, her partner in writing. You know, they're good friends, so this is a natural flow. Victoria Christopher Murray has been writing for over 30 decades, with over 30 books.
Decades.
20 decades? How many decades?
20 years. Just say years, boo. Just say years.
2 decades.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
2 decades.
No. Let me say this. It says 3 decades. It says 3 decades, and I don't have my glasses on. So we're going to do this right.
Put your glasses on, woman. You about to kill the woman.
We're going to look.
In the grave,
right?
It could be worse, but let me go ahead and do this introduction, and I'm going to start again. Victoria has been writing for over 3 decades, with over 30 books, and has received numerous awards for her work. She's one of the first successful authors in the Christian fiction genre, with her self-published novel, Temptation, which was picked up by Time Warner's Walk-Worthy Press. In 2016, Victoria won the coveted NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Literary Work for her novel, Stand Your Ground. Along with national bestselling author ReShonda Tate Billingsley, Victoria founded Brown Girls Books, which won the 2016 African American Literary Award for Indie Publishers of the Year, and it also just won for 2020 as well. With over 1 million books in print, Victoria is one of the country's preeminent African American contemporary authors. And if that wasn't enough, she inked the deal with Lifetime Entertainment to option 3 of the 7 books in her 7 Deadly Sins series. I'd like to introduce you and present to most my mentor, publisher, soror, and friend, Victoria Christopher Murray. How are you?
I am great now that you put the right decades in, Sora. You know,
we good. We good. We got the peepers on now.
Got it on now. Yeah.
Yes. So I want to ask you a few questions, and I'm hoping that you will be able to read some from one of your latest books, either Raf or The Librarian, whichever you prefer. What inspired the series for the 7 Deadly Sins?
That's a very interesting question because it came from 2 places. Back in 2014, I don't know if a lot of people remember Vicky Stringer. She used to write, what was the name of her publishing company? But she was an urban writer. Triple Crown. Thank you, Lisa. And so she wanted to write. She's always said that we should do a project together. And so she said that she thought it would be good to try to bring together like an urban writer with someone who's known as a Christian writer and try to put it together. So she came up with the 7 Deadly Sins. That's back in 2014. And we had just started doing the project when she said, you know what, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not doing no more writing. I'm not doing any more publishing. And so she decided to get out of it. But she said, Victoria, you should write this book. You should do this series. So I put it to the side and I had other books I was writing, because think about that. That was 2014. And then after I wrote Stand Your Ground, and I was blessed to win every single award you could win. It was the best library book of the year, everything. I couldn't write for a year because I got totally, I was intimidated by the success of Stand Your Ground, totally intimidated by it. So my agent was like, girl, you need to be writing because we need to be making this money. You need to write. And I couldn't write anything. And she told me to think about writing something that was so totally different from Stand Your Ground that people would forget about Stand Your Ground. And that's why I decided to write, that's how it came to be. It was so interesting because I said, okay, Lust might be a little bit different than Stand Your Ground. And so once I picked it up and got back into it, and Patrick Bass, who was the editor for Essence Magazine, the book editor, he read it before it even came out, and he called up Sean Robinson, who wanted to get into movies, and said, if you want to get into movies, you need to call this woman.
Okay. Now you talked a little about Stand Your Ground. Can you talk a little about what prompted you to write that book?
Well, some of you may know that I pretend that I'm a political analyst on social media. I just pretend. And so as I was pretending, all of these Black men were getting killed. After Trayvon Martin, it was Jordan Davis and Eric Garner. And it was like every single week. And we were talking about it on social media, and people always got mad at the people who were on the juries. And they never focused on the law. It's the same thing with what's happening with Breonna Taylor. And I'm thinking about doing a book about that, because people are so mad at this man and they're not thinking. And so our attention goes to the wrong thing. We're mad at the people when we should be mad at the law. And as long as we're mad at the people, we'll never do anything about the law. Nobody likes Daniel Cameron, and it was nothing else he could do because of the law. Right. And I'm actually thinking about doing a book like that, another book, because I think I can educate while entertaining. And so people were mad at the George Zimmerman jurors and all these people, but there is a law that we need to be fighting against. Not the prosecutors, not the people in the jury, but as long as they keep us emotional and angry, we'll never get rid of the laws.
Right. So would you say that current affairs affect your inspiration when you think about writing?
No, only when I think about writing like social commentary novels. You know, Mark Lacey was the one who gave me that name. He said, you started this social commentary genre. Well, if I started this social commentary genre, I need to come back with another book. And so those books, I am affected by current events, because a lot of people have asked me, when was I going to write another kind of book by Stand Your Ground? But there wasn't another issue that has come up yet, and until Breonna Taylor.
Okay.
And people, everybody, I mean, I've heard him called all kinds of names and all kinds of things. And you could ask ReShonda. I called ReShonda up way before this came out. And I called ReShonda and I said, ReShonda, there's nothing he's going to be able to do. And she started cursing me out on the phone, seriously. And then I calmed her down and she listened to me. And she said that's why she would never be chosen as a juror. Because she'd be like, guilty, not paying attention to the law.
Okay. Can you talk to us a little bit about your the librarian?
The Personal Librarian. So this is an interesting book. Next year, I'm going to have 2 books coming out. In January, I will have the 4th book in the 7 Deadly Sins series, Wrath, which is my favorite of all of the 7 Deadly Sins I've written so far. And then and then that summer, I have a big book coming out called The Personal Librarian that I wrote with a Caucasian author. And how that book came about was my agent sent me a proposal with this author, Marie Benedict, and I'd never heard of her, and I looked her up, and she was a New York Times author, and she wrote historical fiction of real people, but she fictionalized their stories, women. So I said, well, what does she want to do with me? I don't write historical fiction. I ain't white. Has she figured this out? And so my agent said she requested to write with you. So she had sent me a proposal, which was 3 pages, single spaced, and it was about J.P. Morgan. And I was so not interested. Like, I couldn't get past the first paragraph. And my agent called, that was in September. She called in October. Did you read it? Nah, I don't have time. She's like, Victoria, you have time to read 3 pages. Seriously, I did not read that thing for 3 months. And ReShonda and I were someplace. We were in the car. And ReShonda was as bad as me. ReShonda was like, this ain't nothing. Why does she want you doing this? It doesn't make any sense. So ReShonda and I fussing about it. But we were in a car. And I can't remember if ReShonda was driving and I read it or she was driving. But we finally read it together. And it was about J.P. Morgan and this woman who helped him build the library, blah, blah, blah. It was boring, boring, boring until the very last line said, and no one knew she was Black until she passed away. And I sat up in the chair. I was like, she was one of the most powerful women in New York. Her name is Belle DaCosta Green. Her father was the first African-American to graduate from Harvard. But after the Civil Rights Act of 1875 had been overturned by the Supreme Court, her mother, and they were all involved in the civil rights movement, her mother said, they are never going to give Black people an equal rights. It will never be equal. So I'm taking me and mine and we're going to be white. And he didn't do it and they separated. And so Marie, who wanted to write about this woman, knew that she couldn't write it without a Black partner. She was smart enough to know that. Right. And so it is a fascinating story. It was a fascinating experience because I went from being a Black author to a Black author writing with a white author. And publishing treats you very differently. And it was a bittersweet experience. It was very sweet because I didn't know publishing had this kind of money.
That's what I was going to ask you. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things can you discuss?
The very first thing was that the book went to auction and it started out in the mid 6 figures at auction. When I told ReShonda the first number, she and I fell on the floor together. Because she was, and so as the auction numbers kept coming in and going higher, 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 I didn't know they had this kind of money in publishing. They tell us that, the books aren't selling. So I didn't know there was that kind of money. And then everything from, like, they're doing the cover design now, and it's a photo shoot. They had us choose the woman, they had us choosing her clothes, they had us choosing her, like, stuff I'm not even interested in. Then even on the movie side of it, I've been blessed because actually Lifetime optioned 7 of the 7 Deadly Sins. They're only producing right now. Like, I was watching actors trying out for it this week. So they're producing the first 2. And then when they do well, they'll do the other ones, but they bought all 7. But even though I was blessed with Lifetime buying that, and then they brought the X-Files, the movie offers and everything totally different. So it's a bittersweet experience, because very sweet with the opportunity and the money, and the way they treat me is so different, but it's bitter because Marie has 10 books. I have 30 books.
Yeah.
It's not, and to hear my agent tell it, I'm a pretty good writer. That's all I'll say. I'll leave it there.
Right.
And it's interesting. I
Wow.
love the process and I hate the process. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I absolutely love it because it will be a New York Times bestselling book. I will get money for this. I will get it more exposure. But I hate it because do I have to stand next to a white author in order to get that validation?
Yeah. Wow. Have you ever had this discussion with the other author just to see what her take on it is? I'm just curious.
No, we didn't, but we had an interesting thing because we turned in our book in February. And we got our edits back in March, or maybe April. And we had to work. Now, here's the difference also. I usually turn my edits back around in 2 to 3 weeks. These edits, with Heather and I working together every single day during the pandemic, we worked on Zoom every day, took us 8 weeks. It still went back to them, came back to us, went back to them. They put a lot more work into a book like that. Okay. So we've had a lot of racial discussions because in the middle of writing, we watched a man get lynched in Minnesota. And then we watched all of the racial uprising. And she's very, very, very liberal. She's even probably a little bit more liberal than me. We watched Amy Cooper in Central Park go after that guy. And so we've never had the discussion about how she's paid so much more. Although during this time, there was a feed on Twitter that was publishing paid me. Did you guys see that? And so she and I talked about it a little bit, but I don't think she wants to touch it. I don't think she wants to touch that.
Okay.
No, we can.
But I think I wish we would talk about it.
Yeah, I was just wondering, if you all had, been able to have any of that discussion. I don't want to be the only one asking you questions because, we have a lot of people on here and they've been wanting to talk to you and, converse with you as well. So I want to ask Lisa or one of the other panelists, do any of our audience members have questions for Victoria?
They did. Vanessa Peterson, that's why I have my hand raised. Vanessa Peterson asked, what do you think it will take for this process to change for Black authors? Will this glass ceiling ever go away?
That's a great question. I've worked my butt off in this industry. According to my soror Terri, I've been doing it for 30 decades and nothing has happened. And I've been very well treated at Simon & Schuster. So I need to make that very clear. That they, for 20 years, they've treated me very well. from, in terms of even from the touring, before, when touring was good, I had 35 city tours, everything. But there was still a ceiling because of how they perceive our books. That our books are only for the African-American market. But you know what? I'm cool with that. Because if all African-Americans read my books, we could break that ceiling. And so you know, I don't know who to blame for this. I don't know if there's any blame, because I'm an avid reader. I read about 50 books a year. But one of the things that ReShonda and I always talk about is how, if somebody's advertising a book, how would they reach me? And so they're not going to reach me on TV shows. I'm not going to be watching Empire or Power. If it's not on MSNBC, I'm not going to see it. We don't have the bestsellers list on Essence now. So I think it's very difficult to reach Black authors. I don't know how, I mean, Black readers. I don't know how to read. I don't even know how to reach a Black reader. I know how to reach the readers who have been with me, but I don't know how to reach new readers. So that was a long answer to not answering. I don't know what to do to break the ceiling. I don't know, maybe we have to do more collaborations with white people, and I don't like the fact that I have to stand next to somebody white to be validated. I don't like it, but it's what happened.
Well, I'll share a little bit of something with you with L.A. Banks. God rest her soul. That it was Pam Nelson from Levy Home Entertainment.
Yeah.
She pushed for her to be on that Authors at Sea and all of the things that Levy Home Entertainment was being paid for by the publishers to market and promote white authors. It wasn't until she started writing or touring, at least touring with them in order, wasn't necessarily, she did do some, what do you call those, anthologies. That sort, but she started touring with them, that she started crossing over to a different market. And we have some avid readers on even today. We just did the Kings of the Castle series and the Knights of the Castle series. And our biggest pickup for fans has been white readers. And one said, our books are the only multicultural books that she will refer her to her friends. One lady says, I've read other Black books and they don't feel real to me. And it makes me wonder, what is she, I kind of want to ask, what is she reading? Is she reading Thug Love and all that stuff? Because these, you know, we write about people that are like us, you know, some middle class, upper middle class, whatever, or struggling from paycheck to paycheck. We write real stories, and somehow these particular stories resonate because, and I don't understand. You know, there are some people that say, oh, I can't relate to Black books, but they can read vampires and werewolves and, you know, all this paranormal and sci-fi. They can be all into that, but somehow they have to see themselves in that character, put themselves in the place and the situation of the things that we experience. But here's the thing.
It's so interesting. We've been reading their books for years.
Exactly.
So because we live in both worlds. We can't live in one world. We
don't have a choice.
Worlds, but they can exist totally in their
without
world.
us.
Without us.
Yep.
But we live by just going to work, by just walking outside. We live in both worlds. So, but you know, the thing is that I am not shooting for an expansion of my market through white readers. I want more Black readers. I think I want to honor the people who look like me, and I think I can provide them with great entertainment. And so I hate the thought that the only way for me to be successful is to cross over. I hate that thought. Can't I be successful with my people?
That's the truth. I mean, well, there's so many of us like Terry McMillan, Kimberly Lawson Roby, and Walter Mosley, the people that hit the New York Times bestsellers. I just think, you've been with Simon & Schuster all these years. I just don't think that they market as well to our own. They haven't put that focus on there enough to market to our own people, because somebody puts us on those lists. There's enough readers to go around. And I think for a minute, when white book sales were declining, the Black books industry carried the industry for a hot little minute there. You know what I'm saying? It was like
doing it again. It's doing it again right now. Black books are soaring, you know, right now, because of what happened. I think white people like want to find out more about Black people. So let me read Thug Love, you know, or something like that. Let me look at this book with the Black person on the cover. And I welcome them, you know, come on over. It's cool. But I want to still try to find a way to do better by reaching us, you know, reaching more of us.
As Sharina Cromarty says, as someone who works in customer service at the library, an avid reader, an aspiring writer, I know that our library system is addressing this as we speak. I'm also a part of a Facebook group called Black Girls Write, where I found out about this event. Collectively, this is the beginning of learning how to address the limitations within the Black community. And someone else, Lisa Dotson, a tribe member, says, I had a white author tell me that just by seeing my book cover, she wouldn't have known the book was for her until she read the blurb and got hooked on the story. Black readers don't have that limitation. We've been used to reading whatever books by whatever author we want and don't think anything about it.
Yeah, see, they see a Black person on the cover and it says to them, well, I don't need to read it. We see a white person and we say, oh, this might be a good book.
Yeah.
And it goes right back to, we have to live in their world. They never have to step into ours.
Living out.
That's changing their mindset. That's why I don't mind if somebody else does, but that's why I still keep Black people on my covers, because I'm not changing to get 2 of them. I want to get 2,000 of us.
I like
it.
Oh, we're going to take away. Right. Somebody write that, Anita, write that down, because I want to put that soundbite on Facebook. That is, I don't want to write for 2 of them. I want to get 2,000 of us. I love that. I'm going to close this out with one. I need to get a little plug in here for your host here, Terri Johnson. She's writing the 9th book in the Knights of the Castle series. So this is where you can find her on Twitter, Instagram, on Facebook. This is her latest, but you see the other ones behind her, Switched, Faith, Faith Alone. Those are behind her on the screen. I'm gonna wrap this up. I want one more question.
Can I say something about my host too? Just very quickly, because I know you got to wrap this up very quickly. So I met Terri over the years since I moved to DC. And I remember one time we were at a book club that she invited me to. And she's like, you know, I'm a writer too. And I was like, yeah. Because everybody say that. Everybody sitting next to me and say they're a writer. And so she's like, no, you know, all right. I was like, okay, but I was always encouraging, but I didn't expect to hear from her again. And then she took one of my writing classes, her along with Anita, along with Michelle that I see here on the page. These are my babies. They are my babies. They make me feel like I've been writing and teaching for 90
Don't
decades.
You say it.
But they're my babies. So she took a class, and then Michelle and Anita can tell you along with Terri that when I edit their work, I edit their work like it's mine. I'm a hard editor. And so Terri just took all of those edits, sucked it up, went back. I don't know, she may have cried a little bit. And the way she has grown as a writer, I am blown away. I tell her that all the time, because she really did come from like pre-K. Just say it.
Yeah, and you do tell me that. Where am I now? I'm not in kindergarten.
You're ready to graduate. You're ready to get your master's.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Like, and different people come at different levels. You just have to be ready. Because Michelle was already a good writer. There was very little I could do with Michelle, you know, and Anita was in between both of you. And so I could pull up Anita a little bit, but you, girl, and I'm so proud of you because you just didn't stop. So proud.
Right.
And it was
Thank
like,
you.
there was so little I could do with Michelle. I'm like, why is she in this class again?
Uh-huh.
Here's the thing. I want to slide. Go ahead, Victoria.
No, that was good. I just wanted to give a shout out to them. And then I love seeing my babies. These are my babies.
Yes, we are. Thank you.
I'm one of your toddlers.
Oh, well, wait a minute. That's true. I edited. See, this is what I forgot about that, Lisa. You were the first brown girl book I edited. And I edited that book like it was mine, didn't I?
Yes. Yeah.
And I love people who go back and they don't say, she don't know what she's talking about. I love people who go back and just do the work.
Yeah.
Who just do the work. And again, you were already good because remember I loved the wife book.
Every Woman Needs a Wife.
Oh my God. You know already that was one of my favorite books, right?
Yeah.
And so you were already good, but you could have said to me, Victoria, what you talking about? I already wrote this good book, but you didn't. You let me tear that book up and it became great.
It did, because you helped me to focus on the story and not just the drama and everything else. But I actually sent it to you to pay you to edit me so I can learn some tricks of the trade.
Well, that was a little technical thing. And then I said, no, I want to publish this book.
Right. And I was like, she's taking an awful long time with this. And that's when you called me about the proposition. And I was like, I got a proposition for you. And I was like, yeah, I didn't know we was on that.
That was a little technical thing.
I know, right? That was funny. But I have to get this in because we can get our next guest on our host. ReShonda Hoffman, she has Soar magazine. She said, it's all about marketing. I published my magazine for 20 years and the authors paid for promotion. The publishers never paid for promotion. They donated books, but they never paid for promotion.
Mm-hmm. Now they believe, they don't know. They just believe that there's only certain people they should pay. So they'll pay for a spot in Essence. They'll pay for a spot on Oprah's website, which costs a lot. And so we have a problem with that sometimes because like they won't buy a table at the African American Literary Awards, and they should. It's a different way that they look at things. It's bad. I don't know what to do to change it.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. Where can we find you online?
Just put in Victoria Christopher Murray, and that's what I am on Facebook. That's what I am on Instagram. You put in Victoria Christopher Murray on Twitter, but just on Twitter, understand that I'm not a writer on Twitter. I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare on Twitter. So I'm a different person. Just understand, I'm a different person.
All right, we got that. So you can hang around, but I know you got to hop on another Zoom.
I got to hop, yeah. But so thank you for this. This was wonderful. You know how I feel about the cavalcade. When we going shopping?
We're going to be in Bahamas next year and then Dubai in 2022.
Oh, you know, I did the literary festival in Dubai in 2017. Wonderful.
Talk about Borders over there. They have a Borders over there.
Yeah, I posted it on Facebook when I was over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world's biggest mall is there. And I was there for about 10 days and almost 2 weeks, and never finished the whole mall.
It was awesome. It was. We've been in November. Thanks again, Victoria. Really appreciate you.
Bye, everyone. This was so much fun. Bye, my babies. Bye, Terri. Love you guys. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Okay. We're rolling into Haram. Take it away. Hold on, let me stop the recording.